In the beginning, the only way to be 100% sure is by asking the spiritual master. One can check with other devotees, senior devotee, especially the spiritual master, and then one can be fully sure. Just like we would sometimes get an idea, we'd ask Srila Prabhupada, he would say, that idea was inspired by Super Soul. Sometimes someone would give an idea, he'd say, that idea is inspired by Māyā. Of course, by hearing, by reading, we have to, when we get an idea, we have to learn to analyze it. That, just like we pray, Guru Bhakko Paddo Chitta Koriyo Akko, how's it called? Chitta Koriyo Akko. May the consciousness be made one with your instructions, with your orders. Whatever the word of the spiritual master is, our consciousness, we want that to be filled with those words and to be one with them, in harmony with those words. So we do something or we have an idea, we want to have it confirmed. This is the system of parampara. Whatever a person does it only if it's authorized. Directly can see that Guru has said, Krishna has said in the Shastra. And the Shastras are so vast, the Vedas, that one doesn't have to leave anything for speculation. Even if one knows in his heart that this is Krishna conscious. Also, can trace out the effort. Immediately also Krishna gives the example. There's this example in the Vedas of this devotee or this situation. There's so many millions of examples that have been given in these, even in the Bhāgavatam and the Bhagavad Gita, that most of all the situations have already been covered. If one has the eyes to see, so the spiritual master has the eyes to see, therefore we take his advice. There are also symptoms that overendeavor is usually a symptom of a Māyā idea. Just like a person gets an idea to do something for Krishna, and it happens very easily, or it seems to just be going on. But when you have an idea, well, let me do this for Krishna, but a number of steps of the material activities one has to do before it finally gets around to being something which is directed at Krishna are so many and so wrought with difficulties that it's a symptom of an overendeavor. An overendeavor for an unproportionate result. If one has to do something, it's to overendeavor. They might be attached, so let me do this for Krishna. I want to build a house for Krishna. Whatever, just something. It's very hard to say any particular thing. Maybe one wants to make an airplane. The same thing might be Krishna conscious in another situation, so it's not the particular thing, but in that particular situation, there were other easier ways of using time. Krishna preferred you do it in a different way. So that particular way, Māyā keeps giving so many obstacles, so that one will take the other way. But one is so fixed on that particular idea due to some kind of preconceived idea that in spite of every obstacle, they go on trying. And so at every step they meet difficulties. A lot of practical examples I can think of. They always involve devotees. I don't want to embarrass them. There was one older devotee in our movement who was doing nice service, but then he got an idea. Someone gave him some rubies, and he got into the whole thing that if he started mining rubies, he bought a ruby mine, and he started going there. He just became overwhelmed by these rubies and jewels, like kind of a gold fever. He got a ruby fever, a gem fever. And Prabhupada kept telling him that it's an over-endeavor, it's unnecessary, you just preach Krishna consciousness, Krishna will provide this, that. He said, no, I want to make money for Krishna. And even probably, even his guru told him, don't do it. He said, no. And so, of course, whatever money he did make didn't go to Kṛṣṇa. He just reinvested it in his business again and again, what usually happens. And then, finally, he just became further and further and removed from Kṛṣṇa and more in Māyā. Now he's, for the past many years, he's completely out of touch. You see him sometimes. He's still going to make it one day. So, it's like overendeavors, misdirected. So of course, ultimately the Guru is the custodian of one's spiritual progress. You have to take his advice. And as one advances more and more, then one can tell when one makes a wrong decision. Krishna usually smashes it. As you become more advanced in devotional service, the slightest mistake will create an immediate result. See, karma may take 100 births, but when you surrender to Krishna, you make a mistake, you may get the reaction in 5 seconds or 5 minutes or 5 hours. There was a devotee riding in a taxi cab in Calcutta who started to criticize Srila Prabhupada and different devotees for God knows what reason. Must have gone mad or something. And another devotee who was with him immediately stopped the car and got out and said, I'm not going to hear any offense at pure devotees. And that person went on, and within 1 hour went to the railway station, missed the train, got in a fight with one of the coolies there, one of the porters. They call them coolies in India. That's the official name. Hey coolie. They don't mind being called coolies. So then there was a whole riot, and about 150 of the coolies came out of the walls with bricks and sticks, and they stripped the devotee, this so-called devotee, completely down, naked. All he had on was Brahmin thread, and they beat the pulp out of him, and he was running down the street naked. Finally jumped in a moving bus, the whole bus emptied out, they couldn't believe it. And this all happened within, like 1 or 2 hours after he blasphemed the devotee. He was in the hospital. He's a blooped devotee, wasn't that was criticizing always others. After that, he came by and bowed down hundreds of times in the temple and personally went to each devotee begging for forgiveness. So that way he was able to learn. Sometimes we are repeatedly told to be cautious in a particular way or to avoid some kind of activity. We don't listen. Then finally Krishna says, well, let what be happen. Then Māyā takes over. Krishna lifts up, he doesn't personally do it, he just lifts up some of the shelter and lets Māyā move in. Otherwise the devotee is always under the Yoga Māyā shelter. But if we neglect Krishna, we neglect the Guru, or we blaspheme, then that shelter is removed, and then we're at the mercy of Māyā. She's already upset that we tried to get out of her clutches, so she puts a full load on us. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.